So, hi everyone. Whoever's tuned in, welcome to the Hong Kong FAB Meetup organized by FabCafe Hong Kong. And this time, our event is actually supported by Design Trust in Hong Kong. So today's topic will be about reinventing education in Hong Kong. And we're very glad that we have three really wonderful and experienced speakers. They're all in education industry for a while. I will introduce them later on, but allow me to talk about FabCafe a little bit in case you don't know. So FabCafe originally started in Shibuya in 2012, and we started as a digital fabrication cafe, so combining digital fabrication and the cafe culture together. And now we are actually in many locations in the world. We are in Europe, in Asia, and we also have one in Mexico. So the idea of FabCafe is actually about creating a global creative community. And each of the FabCafe is different. They are relevant to their local context. Taiwan FabCafes has their own character. Hong Kong has their own character. And we always host different kinds of events, and in order to build different sorts of community, and we can work on projects together with them, and we can collaborate with our global creative community. And today's event is actually under a broader campaign. Because of the coronavirus, we all know life will be different. Everyone's life will be different from now on. So we started a campaign. It's about Future City. So the first topic under the Future City is about reshaping education. And last session, like 3 weeks ago, we held an online session about immersive learning. And today we will talk about reinventing education. So alongside with the campaign, we are also hosting competitions online. And we are currently hosting this innovative game design challenge. And the deadline, I think it will be by the end of this month. No, sorry, next month. June 20th. So, that's about it. So let's get it started. So again, let me introduce a speaker today. So in the middle, we have Ryan. So Ryan is a digital literacy coach, and he's working in an international school in Hong Kong, and he works with teachers on how to integrate technology into the subjects. Maybe you can talk more about it later on. So welcome, Ryan.
Thank you.
And on the far side, we have Wincy. And Wincy, she's a mother of 2 children, and she is teaching at the Waldorf School in Sai Kung. And she's a huge believer in the Waldorf method. So maybe you can talk about that later on. Please welcome Wincy. And besides me, we have Joyce. So Joyce was born and raised in Hong Kong, went through the whole education system in Hong Kong, and she also taught at multiple schools, different backgrounds, and now she's the leader of a primary school in Hong Kong. She's the principal of a Catholic mission school, and very glad to have her here today. Thank you, Joyce. So maybe let's start with Joyce. Would you like to tell us more about yourself and your teaching methodology?
Okay, since I was brought up in Hong Kong, I studied in traditional Hong Kong local primary school and secondary school. And now I'm working in a school with 52 years old, quite old. But what we are doing right now is very new in Hong Kong. as a public school. And for my school, the very main core value is we put human first. So we put human-centered approach a lot in our school. But we also bounded by the system, since we've got the money from government, right? So in my school, we need to play a lot. Play by the rules, play away from the rules, but don't break the rules. And this is what my admin team and also my students, how they play their life in our school. Since we are a human-centered school, we believe that family and school will consist to make the future community. So we put our objectives for our students as nurture them as global talented citizens to make the world a better place. So we implement a lot of SDGs ideas to them, to introduce a lot of NGOs to them. And since we still need to play around the system, our students, they need to take the secondary 1 allocation standardized test. How we help our students from P1 to P4 to build up the kindness, to build up the value, how to be a good people, a good citizen, to help others in the future. But at the same time, they need to grab the knowledge and skill for exam. Okay, this is the most interesting part in my school. So in order to cater for the uniqueness of each student, you can see we use the term uniqueness. In Hong Kong, most of the public schools, they use the term diversity. But in my school, it's uniqueness. So we put the differentiated approach into our school. And in P1 to P4, our students, they learn how to make choice. Because as human, we need to make choice every day. All the little choices will become your habit. And then the habit will become your character. And your character will become your future value as a whole person. So in P1 to P4, we teach our students how to make choices, to understand themselves, and then to make the choice for themselves. For example, when we are doing some consolidation work, we will set them into different levels, and the children can choose level 1 for today because I feel comfortable to do level 1. Or they can choose level 3 because I think that today what I learned that I can challenge myself. So I choose level 3. This is how we prepare our children. They can have a self-regulated and self-directed mindset and prepare them to take the challenges in P5 and P6. And they are willing to do the challenges for their S1 allocation. Instead of when they were P1, they do a lot of exercise drilling every day. They don't know why they need to do this. But from P1 to P4, we try to train them up that you have your choice. You understand yourself so that you know why you need to do this and how you do this, and then finally what you need to do. So when they go to S1, usually in Hong Kong, those P6 students, they won't choose their school. Their parents choose for them. But in my school, most of my students, they choose their own secondary school. So many people will ask, what's the percentage for your students to go to a Band 1 English school? I can't tell because like years ago, we have students that they travel around the world for half a year. They didn't go to S1. We have students, they go back to the home country. I have to mention that my school that I have students come from 42 nationalities right now, but I'm a local school, local public school. So I really can't tell the S1 percentage. But in my school, because of the background of the children and the families, so that we have a lot of stimulation from our stakeholders, especially our parents. In local school, they won't listen to the parents. They will just ask the parents to follow what the school will do. But in my school, since we are a human-centered school, and our children will become global citizens, so that's why we value a lot from the experience or sharing from our parents. We learned a lot from them. So starting from coming September, my school will have a new 9-year plan on how to make the learning journey for all the stakeholders in our school as a community. And then after 3 years' time to strengthen my community, we will extend my community to the real community in Central West. And then another 3 years, we'll go to Asia. Another 3 years, the whole world.
Nice.
Okay.
Great.
This is how we nurture the students as global talented citizens to make the world a better place. That's the
Nice.
most important.
Great. Thanks for sharing. It's very interesting. You really do like breaking the rules outside the box. Okay, thanks. So maybe Ryan, would you like to tell us about what is digital literacy and what's your role in school? What
Okay.
do you do?
So my name is Ryan Krakowski. I'm a digital literacy coach here in Hong Kong at International School, an IB PYP school. I've been in Hong Kong now for 10 years. I came from Canada originally. So I did a lot of my training in Canada, but I did my master's here in Hong Kong. So I've been working in the IB for 9 years now, so I really believe in the IB system and the PYP. If you're not familiar, it's based around units of inquiry, where there's a central idea, and teachers are there to facilitate students throughout the process of inquiry to get to that central idea. So they take very different pathways depending on their passions and interests and so on. My role in the school is really to integrate technology with teachers, with students, and with parents. So you can imagine I was very busy during the last 13 or 14 weeks as everyone was using technology.
Yeah.
When I'm at school, I'm running workshops with teachers, working with them one-on-one. I'm going into classes, integrating technology, integrating design thinking projects as well. Hosting workshops for parents so that they get a feel of what type of learning is happening in the school. But then obviously during these last 14 weeks we were online, so I was doing, making a lot of resources for teachers to support them as I wasn't there face to face. Lots of Zoom calls and Google Hangouts and WhatsApp and FaceTime to support teachers one-on-one. Also making a lot of resources for parents during this time as they had to guide their children through some of the platforms that they were using for their learning. So we made resources for the children. I'm very lucky I have a partner. We're a bilingual school, so I'm the English technology coach or digital literacy coach, and then we have a Chinese one as well. And we work very closely together through all of this. But yeah, that's a short little piece about what I do.
Teaching parents is probably harder than teaching students to use technology.
Yes, definitely. Well, making resources for parents, what's more difficult is the emails you have to follow up after they have some questions with some of your teaching materials. But overall, it was a very smooth 14 weeks. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks. So, Vinci, what about you? So, what is actually the Waldorf method, and what's the learning experience in school, in Waldorf school?
Let me share a little bit my background why I meet Waldorf. Actually, after I graduated from university, I taught in local school for 8 years, and after that, because I haven't have my own child. So I start to look into what kind of education I want to give my child. So besides the local schools, what is the alternative way of learning? So I look into Montessori, homeschooling, and then I happened to search online. I found Waldorf education. And Waldorf education, for me, is quite interesting and also is quite human, in a way, because it is a child center. We look into child development very closely. So when we develop the curriculum, we really look at is this age suitable, or this learning or this topic, is it suitable for this age, or this age, is it suitable for this activity? We really look closely to that philosophy. So in Waldorf school, what is actually happening is it's kind of slow-paced learning in a way in the younger primary, lower primary. So we use a lot of story. We do a lot of artwork. We do a lot of painting and singing. We do a lot of movement. We learn by doing, the actual doing. So when they come to school, we will sing songs. we will have movement. We do a lot of movement, especially for the lower primary, and then we will and then we will start the lesson by maybe drawing, maybe some different activities. We have to learn it through our body. So after that, when then we put what we learned into a book or a notebook. We call that main lesson book. We have a book to write down everything we learned, and then later on we become the textbook of that topic. So it's totally different way of learning. So I think when you walk in the classroom, you'll see like the classroom is really warm and cozy, and you can feel the peace and the beauty of the classroom. I think, and also it's nature, has the nature feeling. I think this is what the children, the young children need, because they need to get close to the nature and have the calmness. And then when they're ready to learn, and then they will start to learn that way. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I would imagine it will be quite hard during this whole pandemic, right? So I think the next part I would definitely like to ask, how do you guys deal with the whole pandemic situation? Like, what are the challenges and how do you respond to it? Joyce?
Finding the face mask. At the very beginning, yes, because I have to prepare all the face masks for my staff and also for all the teachers once it is a good time for them to come back, and at least I need to let them feel comfortable to come back, otherwise I won't ask them to come back. And the next is the government is asking us to be suspending classes without suspending learning.
Yes.
And I remember on the 29th of January, I have my meeting with my admin team, and the first thing I told them is, forget this. What we really need to do is human-centered school. How we connect our children, how we connect the school with the families, and how we support each other at this very, very special time. And don't, because of the pandemic, to separate us. Because on the first week of February, I have half my school leaving Hong Kong. And then in late March, one half from abroad, they came back, because of the pandemic.
Yeah, they left and they came back.
Yeah. So what is the biggest trouble is how we connect them in different time zones. And also, since we are a public school, we have different social levels families, especially those in the lower level. How we get the equipment, devices, and then the Wi-Fi card for them to go online with us, to see us face to face. So this is the first objective that we need to work on for the first week. And then we use 2 days time to train our teacher to use Google Classroom. Only 2 days. I'm a harsh principal. Because I prepared it in 2016 already.
Wow.
My team, they used to use it. And then the next step is a lot of what should I say that? A lot of sharing from the families. I have 4 kids in my house. I just have 1 iPad. And I need to work from home. So I can't share my notebook with my son. And when I'm working, my son is asking me how to work on this. And the same for my teachers. So they do have pressure at home, and also they need to cater for the schoolwork. So we try not to use live lesson. We ask our teacher, we use the idea of flipped classroom. We did it from 2016 too. So our teacher, they are going to build up the whole second term materials into a video and e-learning materials, so that we can make good use of these materials for other years as a flipped materials or some differentiated materials in the classroom, so that the parents, they can watch the video at any time. So in my iPad, I can see that on Friday night and weekends, there are a lot of notifications, especially from Key Stage 1 students, P1 to P3, because
Only-
they
only
need
the
parents.
weekends.
Yes, yes, because the parents can't help them during the weekdays. And for the whole virtual school, we focus a lot on morning assembly, how we deliver message every day to them. We put gratitude as the theme during this pandemic time. And then next, in the morning, we do emotion check-in. If you can go online, you go online to the Go Classroom. In your classroom, type how you feel. Just type it one sentence, and the teacher will type that. And then they can have their choice of learning. And then at the end of that day timetable, we only arrange half day. We will have a magic circle time. Physically at school, every day at the end of the school, we have a magic circle time. Students will sit in a circle and then they will share the good and bad of that day. We keep it online, and that is the highlight for our school. Okay, and we have 3 weeks of learning and then 1 week of break. For that 1 week of break, we only have moral and civil education, and also focus on gratitude. We don't focus on academic, because we know that our parents, they have a lot of pressure on it. And now we are ready for starting school, and what is the biggest challenge for starting school is how the schools to prepare the environment and everything which is safe for students to come back, especially for a small school like mine. And all the 30 students, they need to pack into a small room, and parents keep challenged that there is no 1.5 meter between each students. So I don't come back. So please keep the online learning. That means my teachers, they need to do double workload. And there are still many different kinds of challenges coming. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Oh, does it share? Sure. Okay. So, a lot of the same challenges, obviously, that you had. We've also been using a lot of our core platforms for many years, like Google Classroom, like Seesaw, and so on, which we really needed to maximize during this time. Initially, a big problem was that there's people displaced all over the world. The Wi-Fi connection, where some people live or where they're staying wasn't very good. The device availability. So we made sure as well that all the learning we were doing was asynchronous, so that it would be uploaded the day before, and then students could work on it at their own time throughout the day. What we did is we gave some Wi-Fi cards as well to teachers. Some of them who were living maybe off the island, on the outlying islands, they needed Wi-Fi because their upload speeds were very minimal. It takes them 2 hours to upload a video, and they're just sitting there watching it and messaging me, and so we're like, okay, we need to get them Wi-Fi cards. We also loaned out our devices that we used at school, the school-owned devices, but we loaned them out to families, teachers who needed them. And also just focused on everything being cloud-based, because people had all different types of resources. We couldn't assume that everyone had a Mac or everyone had a PC or a Chromebook or whatever. So all of our resources had to be, cloud-based, which is a lot of the resources we use already. So that was initially. Then the next, it was really the training and the upskilling of staff. Staff knew how to use all of the core resources, but now they're not at school. So now, their normal routines they can't use, and they have to kind of find a replacement online, which is not very easy. So we had to find some new resources, bring them in, provide some training materials for staff so that they could understand, how to use some of the tools, and then also provide training resources for the parents and for the students to make sure that everyone had an increased technological fluency during this time. So we have a website we were uploading all of our materials to, a Google site. We also have a YouTube channel, which we were making YouTube playlists for different resources, going through things step by step. We were curating things from websites and online and trying to pull it all together. And then for video conferencing, we were using Zoom as well, and not necessarily for live teaching, but it was more to check in, to support students who needed extra support on some of the projects they were working on, checking with their social and emotional well-being and so on. And then between the teachers, and parents, lots of different communication. We were on, as I said, many of the platforms, Google Hangouts, WhatsApp, WeChat, and just about all the platforms. I had notifications everywhere going off at that time, depending on which stakeholder it was. But it was really just about being available for people, all the time, so that you could support them. Because, a lot of the time when people contacted me, it was panic. It was always an SOS or an emergency, because at that point they're pressed for time, or the parents feel like, okay, my child needs to have this working right away. So you have to really make time for stop whatever you're doing and help people out. It was very challenging at the start. I wasn't used to it, but it got better and better once everyone's technological fluency was brought up. Yeah.
Any plans to consolidate all these tools into?
Definitely. Yeah, we plan on consolidating, especially some of the new tools that we learned, putting them as part of our core so that we can expand the core out. Yeah.
Nice.
I think I have one more challenge. Yeah. I think I talked about the suitable learning needs. Yeah, so basically, a lot of the technological needs were worked out, but then it was a lot of the, making sure students are happy and healthy, and they're engaged in learning and they're motivated to learn just as they would be at school. So it was really about enhancing the learning and enhancing the projects by bringing in some of these new tools. For me, I'm a tech integrator, so I designed some robotics challenges for students. Alongside my partner, we sent home, or parents could pick up, or we sent home these little robots. They're called 𝗙𝗲𝗲𝗁. And we would design these little challenges, and we would create these little promo videos that really got the students excited. And then the students had the robot at home, so then they could complete the challenge, take a video of it, upload it to some program called Flipgrid. And then we had some troubleshooting area. We set up a Padlet, so if any students had any problems during this time, they didn't need to contact parents, they didn't need to contact teachers, but they can come right to us. So it was really fun to be working on these. We did these for about the last 6 to 8 weeks. And then at the end of every challenge, we would make a recap video and share all of the students' projects, kind of to celebrate learning. And a lot of the projects had, brought in some of the design thinking elements where they had to solve problems in their home, they had to cheer up their family, they had to fulfill a responsibility around the house, and so on. So it was a really fun way of bringing in some of the skills we've been consolidating, like robotics and coding and so on, at the home, trying to have the same quality of learning during this time. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like learning at home is not so bad, right?
Yeah.
Learning at home is awesome.
for the kids.
For the kids, yeah,
not for the
definitely.
parents.
Yeah.
Right.
Even the parents got involved in some of those challenges.
Yeah?
Well, they were usually taking the videos,
Taking video.
but they were also in the videos sometimes.
So they're doing homework too.
Yeah, they're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Wincy, you want to share it? I think yours is really challenging too.
Yeah,
Right?
it's quite challenging for us because we are no technology school. So we don't have, we don't use technology at school. So it's quite challenging for the teachers and also for the parents and the students. So what we did in the past, at the beginning, we kind of panicked in the beginning, but kind of we figured it out. Maybe we, at least the teachers start to learn how to use technology, like sending emails out. I mean, it's okay to send emails out, but we're using Zoom is quite challenging for some teachers. So we started learning some basic technology, and then later on at the beginning we used just email communication between parents and the teachers. We send out weekly homework, just simple activities for the younger kids could be just doing some housework with the parents, cooking, and for the older one could be some reading and some writing material. It's very simple, just recap what they had learned in the past. And later on, we felt the need because we saw the situation is keep going. We can't go back to school. So after Easter, we start to have more Zoom lesson. We do the Zoom live lesson, but for the younger one, from primary 1 to 3, we just meet once a week, just only 30 to 45 minutes, so that the teachers can really communicate using the Zoom, communicate with the student and check in with them and how did they do about homework, kind of simple question they'll ask them and they get the response, maybe some story. For the older one, they have more regular, maybe 3 times or sometimes it's 4 times a week, so that the teachers can really do some lesson and teaching in the Zoom. So and also they have weekly homework. So the teacher will also check with the homework and how they learn. And so and also besides this, and also the challenge is maybe the parents' involvement, because they need to give this give out the iPad or the PC to the younger kid, and they have concern with the screen time. So we try to keep it minimal, just maybe 30 minutes for that week, and so that they can do other work like just reading and story and writing, drawing in the school, in the home at home, and yeah, and also that what Joyce has mentioned is the challenge between like the parent has to work, and how that work, like how the schedule work with the children and the teacher in the school is quite challenging, but we kind of work it out in a way. So we have our regular like schedule, so that if the parents can't make it, we kind of try to change another time that will fit. And we also have international students, the time zone, we try to fit that as well. So if they can join in, would be good. If can't, it's fine, because they got the homework, they can work on the homework as well. So yeah, this is.
Are there any plans to like continue developing tools or curriculum for distance learning, especially for Waldorf school methodology?
Right. I mean, for the primary, we try to do it face to face, like do the physical learning possible. So if that is necessary, we will figure it out how to do it. But for right now, we are able to go back to school. We enjoy the time being together. Yeah, we really enjoy that time.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think nowadays a lot of people are really aware that like social values such as like trust, empathy, responsibility are equally as important as knowledge-based subjects such as science, history, and math. So how do you balance that at school?
We can talk a little bit about some of the projects. So some of the really heavily integrated projects that we work on, as I said, take the design thinking approach, where we go out into our community and we learn more about what's happening, and we form relationships with different people within the school and outside the community, and we learn about issues and empathize with these people. And based on empathizing with these people, we design solutions to whatever problems that may be happening within the community. And I think that touches on building a lot of those skills and those by getting out there and learning about the world around us, and focusing on making the world a better place through the design thinking. And then we bring in the knowledge. We bring a lot of those subjects like math or science and so on, depending on what the unit of inquiry is or what the project's about. The students may need to, if they're say building a stool, right? They'll need to measure out the stool. They'll need to get the wood and so on. We had one of the problems was holding stationery in the classroom. Stationery was a mess in the classroom, and then they had to design stationery. This was year 3, so these are 8-year-olds, and they had to interview their teachers and interview their classmates and design these little stationery holders and measure them all out and make sure they would fit. And some of them wanted to attach it to the back of the chairs and make sure that it was hooked and all these little things.
Hacking the furniture.
Yeah, hacking the furniture. So that's personally when I'm working with classes, that's how we bring in a lot of those things. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I think for the Waldorf school, we kind of do it differently. Is when they were young, like when they grade 1, grade 2, we do it like how we treat things around us, just as simple as just a pencil or color pencil, a chair, like as simple as this. The teachers will show like how we treat the chair, like how we move the chair, when we give when we do music like flute, and we give them the flute to the student, and how we present the flute, and how the gesture, and then the attitude, how we treat it, and how we expect the student do the same as well. So and then how we put out like the stationery on the table and all that, as simple as this one. This is how we start like building up some value of the things that surrounding us. And then later on, in different topics, for example, like right now I'm doing like the money. We talk about money in the lesson. So we discuss about like how we use money. how where we can find money, and then we started building shops and how we sell stuff and why we selling this stuff and how we earn money from the shops and then we make our money as well, and then like some students may want to have more money, and then they started printing their own money. And then we kind of talk about it because we saw the situation. We kind of talk about it. Some students, you can see the reaction like, I don't want to take your money because you're printing your own money. It's not fair. It's not good. And then we kind of start the discussion. Should we do it? And if we're not doing it, how should we earn money, having more money? So we go in this kind of discussion. And then after that, the student just know like what happened in the real world and kind of behave like that in the classroom setting. Like we have like this corner selling maybe drinks and food, and this corner selling jewelry, this selling different things, and then every day we have activity, like 30-minute activity, just running a shop, running all this, and then we kind of putting value in this way. We're actually doing it, and when we see a problem, then issue, and then we talk about it, and how should we solve it, and what can we do about it. So this is how we kind of putting value at the same time, and at the end of like, because we're talking about money, so we need to do calculation. So this is how the knowledge parts go in. So they need to know how to write the dollar signs, like what is look at the dollars bill, and then how to write the numbers, how to do the calculation, how much I sell, how much I spend, and this is all the knowledge goes in that.
And you can go into loans and compound interest.
We haven't gone that yet.
Nice.
So we do it. We really doing it with the value
I see.
behind
Kind
it.
of very experiential. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, for my school, since we are a human-centered school, the most important part in our body is our brain and the heart. But you can't feel your brain, but you can feel your heart. So all the motivation by all human is driven by your heart. So what in our school is doing right now is for Hong Kong, the curriculum guide, if you open the curriculum guide, which was designed 20 years ago, and it emphasized that knowledge, skill, and attitude. And I talked to my teaching team that no, we put attitude first, and then skill, knowledge. We don't need to mention it actually, especially we come across this crisis, right? Knowledge, we can get it anywhere through the web or through talking to others. But attitude is something that is not easy to get by yourself. For human, we need interaction every day. So in my school, we focus a lot in social emotion. How do you feel today? Do you feel good? No? What's wrong? Anything you can share with me? So every day we start with the greetings to ask, how are you today? You are willing to express yourself first. So when you feel comfortable, when you feel happy, then you would like to learn something, okay? But when you need to learn, you need skills to maximize the effectiveness of your learning. So skills in learning is communication, how you collaborate with others, how you care about others. In my school, there are a lot of C and L. C, we have curiosity, communication, creativity, compassion, and care. For L, we have listen, because if you need to learn, you need to listen, okay? And then you learn it, and then you laugh, because you feel happy after you learn. So we have started to not using the traditional lesson plan in public school. We have designed a new layout for my school. We call it a learning journey. There are 3 stakeholders in the learning journey. Teachers, what's your pain point in the classroom? I can't manage the classroom. That's the teacher's pain point. What are the needs of the children? My children, they don't want to sit more than 15 minutes time. And then at the bottom part, what are the expectations of the parents, or what are the needs of the parents? So we have 3 lines. We copy from the customer journey map. Okay, so for the learning journey, the teachers may need to develop a week time of learning or a month time of learning. And then in this journey, we just have 5 workshops with our new teachers, with our experienced teachers. And we talk about how we set objectives according to attitude and the skills first. For the skills, we make good use of the Bloom taxonomy and also the generic skills, the 9 generic skills. And then go to the expected outcome and the expected shape of the students in their behavior and attitude. And then we go backward. This is the backward approach. We set the expectation. Try to set it a little bit higher, but reachable. And then we go back. What is the assessment that we can do? And then we go back. What are the actions that the facilitator in our school, our teacher won't call teacher anymore. They are facilitator for the first 3 years. And then later they will become a life coach. And then after 3 years they will become a leader. Okay, so for the facilitators, what are the actions they will take to facilitate something that could solve the pain point of the teacher, and then to meet the needs of the students, and then to help the parents. And then they need to do something for these 3 stakeholders while they are learning something every day. Okay, this is how we put value into our school. We are not focused on the knowledge. We are not focused on the exam base, but we focus on how we communicate, and then we learn something together. It's a journey that we walk together.
Interesting. So, wow. So the students are aware. Like, it's not like, oh, he's not a teacher. He's like a facilitator, and he's a coach, and then a leader. So I think in when it's very different from other schools. So they actually realize like their lifelong career could be different. It's kind of fixated, right? Teacher is teacher, and then professor, and then now it's actually facilitator, coach.
For the past 3 months, the crisis for someone, maybe it is something negative, but the crisis for my school is an opportunity that we can see things differently, and our lives has changed 10 years faster. And especially at the crisis time, that life is not something you teach me, I learn it. It's something that we share. And then as a coach, especially life coach, it is the most important at crisis time.
Yeah.
So this has inspired me to prepare my future 9 years. Why teacher, you should be a facilitator, not teach, not talking something. You are the one to walk around, go into your students' world, listen to them, and then to help them.
You think this could be done in high school too? It's really hard to overcome this, right? In high school is more challenging.
Yeah.
Secondary school, I mean. Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting. So yeah, I mean, like since you talk about like you think that the values is more important than knowledge, and a lot of people are aware of that, and been talking about technology will basically replace human in many different ways. And what's left for us? It's human. A lot of people are saying it's the creativity and collaboration. So how do you teach that in school?
I can share a little bit. I think we did a lot of creativity things in school. Especially how we do it is through story. One of the ways through story. We tell students a lot of different stories. And when we tell a story, we didn't show pictures. We just tell them the story. When students hear the story, there's already an image happening in our head. And then the next day, when we talk about the same story again, and then we will start to discuss what happened in the story, what image in your head, and then we put it on the paper and start to draw it. So this is one of the way of doing creativity in our school. And so you will see they do differently because everyone has different images. You may pick up for the beginning of the image of the beginning, someone pick the image of the end of the story, but at the end it's the same story. We start from the same story. So this is how we start training the creativity part in the curriculum. Yeah.
Is there a way to like measure? Like I mean, like the students more creative after doing this?
It's difficult to measure,
Yeah.
put a measurement. I mean, each one has different image in their head. But of course, they need more skills to improve their drawing. Like the way, the skills is important, is to show what is in their head. So, but for creativity, there's no way to measure it. Sometimes they can draw it. Sometimes they speak it. They speak it and tell you what's happening in their head. But when they have ready, maybe the hands ready, when something's ready, they were able to show it. Yeah.
How about collaboration? What kind of activities?
For collaboration, we did a lot of group work together, especially when we do movement. We have movement almost like every day or every other day. We do like 30-minute movement together, or even every morning we did it together. So we do different activities so that it involves everybody to be included. We try to include everyone in the movement and activity. Also, we sing together. Singing is another way of doing collaboration, because when the kids getting older, they will sing in parts. When they sing in parts, meaning you have to collaborate with each other. You are not only you need to hear your voice, at the same time you need to hear the voice from the other side, and how to make harmony. This is how we put it in the curriculum as well. So we don't just because want them to collaborate so that we create project, but we already do it in the small different little activities in school as well.
I can talk a little bit more about what we do. So we have, first up, creativity I think is something, not necessarily something that's taught, it's more something that's fostered. Good learning design sparks your creativity. So when I talk about design projects, or I talk about, we do something called I-Time or passion projects, where students choose a topic. So they're given agency over what they want to learn, how they want to learn it. And students then go on their own self-exploration, if that's reading, if that's watching videos, if that's bringing materials and doing and making. And then at the end, they just showcase what they've learned. And a lot of the time, you get a lot of creative pieces. So whether it be they've made music or paintings, or they've done some woodworking, or a number of different things, dance sequence, gymnastics, and so on. And I think that by giving them that agency, it really allows them to feel comfortable, take ownership of their own learning, and then really be creative the way that they want to showcase their creativity. With the design thinking as well, their projects are very open, so that students can kind of take their own path. They can design what they want, what they feel is important for whichever individual they're building something for. So by doing it themselves, they're once again taking ownership, and they're creating something that's unique, that's special to them, and once again, very, very creative outputs. So those are two really major ways that I see creativity really fostered at my school. Yeah.
How about collaborations on projects, technology?
Always collaboration. So whether it's small projects, could be we run a robotics team. They take part in some robotics competitions where they have to solve some challenges, and they're in teams and they're solving the problems together. Also, some of the design projects they're done together in groups and so on. It's just depending on also what the students want. Sometimes some students like to work alone for different purposes, and some students like to work with others. So they have the choice. If they want to, work on that robotics challenge and try to solve all those problems by themselves, they have the freedom to do that. It's giving them the agency to choose that. Yeah.
Okay, for my school, we see creativity as the drives from curiosity. So when you have curiosity, then you would like to understand more, know more about things happening around you. And creativity is something that you see things differently. Maybe it's not something new. Just you see the same things in a different angle, or you express it in your own way. Okay, it is what we how to see creativity in my school. And so what our main work at school is to keep the curiosity of our students, especially in a local school. In local school, usually when you go into any local school, when you go to a P1 classroom, you will still feel the happiness of the children. But when you go to a P3 classroom, you can feel the static air in the classroom already. In a P6 classroom, a lot of mammals.
A lot of what? Sorry?
Mammals. Dead body. Okay? So in my school, we are trying our best to keep the curiosity when they graduate for 6 years' time. And also for collaboration. In my school, we see collaboration in small things, everyday life. My school is a living place. This is a place for you to prepare yourself in the community. And collaboration means I understand you, understand myself, so that when we work together, if we want to work smoothly, I need to understand your character first, understand your needs first. So what are the small things that we can practice every day? If someone dropped the eraser on the floor, you pick it up and give it back to your friends, and your friends say thank you. This is the very first action of collaboration. Sometimes we adults see these kinds of skills in a very, very, very specific way and professional way. But actually, these are just living, daily living. If we don't forget, in Chinese, we said, in my school, we have a slogan, 重塑教育覓初心，活在當下迎未來. So don't forget the very basic instinct of human, the kindness. The kindness is something that the core of the collaboration of others. Very simple.
Interesting. Yeah, like we've talked about like many things. Like I think today's discussion is we've talked a lot about like things not knowledge based, right? So I think a lot of people starting to understand each students are different. They learn at a different pace, and it seems like our current, education system kind of fell short in terms of, the assessment. We're still in like giving grades, kind of like, back in like the old times in industrialization, right? Giving grades to, milk cows, right? So if we want to reinvent the education, system, we need to tackle the big problem, which is how do you assess? Do we urgently need a new assessment system? What are the possibilities?
I think only me in my school
I think it's
the
all,
new
all
assessment
over the world,
system
right?
most urgent for the public school in a metropolitan city like Hong Kong, because we are still using the system 50 years ago during the industrial age. And since in our city, in the financial field, in the banking field, they do have this kind of assessment system, honestly. So that's why the government didn't change, right? And everything depends on the economic in Hong Kong, backward to the entry exam of university, DSE, and then the S1 allocation, the secondary one allocation. Backward, you can see that the system, you can't change by us, right? But I'm still playing this in my school. So, but in real life, you always have tests in your life. So the test is a little bit pressure for you. You need to learn how to tackle for the pressure. I think in my school, the assessment and the test, the traditional style of test and assessment is something that to tell the children that it may be one of the challenges in their future. How to build up your grit attitude to face the challenge that you don't want to face. But in real life, there are lots of things that you don't want to face, but you still need to find a way out. Or else, you may call help to your parents. Find another way out. Change the school. Right? So in my school, for P5 and P6 assessment, we will inform the students when they go to P4. When they go to P4, we will tell them, in the coming 2 years' time, after the P4, you still have one more honeymoon year. And then when you go to P5 and P6, this is your first time to make a very, very big choice for yourself, for your future. This is how we teach them to see their life, to see the growth. We use 4 years' time, try to build up a positive thinking, positive psychologists on them, so that when they come to the pressure, they won't collapse so easily. Actually, it is something from IB. The IB curriculum, the core is a human being. And then how they face the challenges. For IB, they can use around 14 years' time to build it. And then when they come to diploma, they can do it with a more, I can't say very easy, a more easy way, not as much pressure as our DSE candidates. My school tried to steal some of the IB strategy into my local school, but unfortunately, I just have 4 years' time.
So you think the grading system is somehow kind of still necessary, in a sense?
Yes, because in the world, it's a mixed world. You can't escape it sometimes.
Unless the real world changed.
Yeah.
So kind of from the top.
That's a utopia then.
Yeah, right, yeah. Still have to take exams to become an architect or something. So unless that's changing, it's going to be hard for the younger kids to change, or the school to change.
Yeah, so just in the PYP, you know, there isn't big exams. Assessment looks very different. Before you go into a unit of inquiry, there's pre-assessment, so you try to find out, you know, where the students, where they're at, how do, you know, based on the topic or the general learning area, what do they know to this point, and then that dictates kind of like where you can start to drive the unit, and then throughout the unit, there's lots of peer assessment, and there's lots of self-assessment that students are doing, and lots of reflecting on, you know, what they've learned so far, where they need to go, and at the end there's more of a celebration of learning, whether that be a project or a showcase or so on. And I thought a lot about this during the, you know, this period of time during online learning. I'm going on an inquiry right now. I'm learning more about vintage mechanical watches, and I had to do a lot of self-reflecting on, you know, where was I at in my knowledge? What did I need to do next? So. What books did I need to read? Maybe what YouTube channels did I need to follow? Who did I need to, you know, talk to and listen to? And I think that's very important for our students, is to know kind of where to go next. So they know what they know what they know now, so the metacognition, right? And they know what they need to take, where they need to take it next, and how can they get there? Well, that's where technology comes in. You know, they need to take advantage of all that technology. That's where you can gain all that knowledge. That's where you need to go out into the community and learn by talking to people, socializing, and meeting the right people, and so on. So I think at least in the PYP, I think it's that self-reflection or that self-assessment is the most important. Yeah.
Self-assessment. It's kind of like meta-thinking.
Meta-thinking, yeah.
Meta-thinking.
Yeah. And being present, and that's where we bring in mindfulness and mindful breathing and being present and always, you know, staying in the present. I think that connects a lot to being able to self-reflect and self-assess yourself. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm a Waldorf school.
We're totally different.
Totally different, yes.
Yeah, but for personally, for the assessment, the grading assessment system, it may be suitable for the older one. Could be for the adult, or even the high school, maybe is suitable for them. But for the younger one, we don't see that's necessary to label them as like an A student, B student. But we still do assess. We assess student as well, but we do it differently. We have formative way is like every day you communicate, interact with the student. You can assess him or her like daily or weekly or monthly, and then you give feedback to the student or the parents. And also we have summative assessment, but we are not like doing paper and answering questions. But when they finish the topic of lesson, like usually in 3 weeks or 4 weeks of the theme, and then they will finish their main lesson book, what we call main lesson book. They will put what they learned. The teachers will do that every day with the student. Like they would write down what they learned, maybe the calculation, maybe the correct writing or drawing, or something is related to the topics. And then they would do it daily. And then at the end of the project, the teachers will collect it, and each student have their own different book, so it's kind of a textbook of the topic. So the teachers will just look through the book. Okay, maybe something she can do a little bit more on this one to improve that, or the teachers can say, okay, she may need more help with the math or some writing or some concept, and then we kind of assess the student that way. So, and also at the end of the school year, we write, like the teacher will write report. We also assess it through the whole, like see it like as a year, the whole year, what they learn and how they improve, or do they need more learning maybe the next year, and then the teachers can help on that one. So we kind of seeing the assessment differently. And also we do child study. We see individual student, how they grow, and how they like the living style. We even talk to parents. Like we do the individual assessment as well. So it takes a long time and longer time, but actually it will benefit the student and also help the teachers how the teachers teach and interact with the student in school. So we do it differently. Yeah.
So what's the general response from, like, let's say, like before P4, you're not really focused on grades and the different kind of assessment. How does the parents think? They're like, yeah, it's good, or
For parents, it's good.
they're happy. They won't be like, hey,
Yes.
how come my kids are not graded? Would they think like that?
We do have progressive assessment, same as Waldorf School, and we have qualitative one rather than quantitative one. So I think parents are more concerned about the qualitative report than the quantitative report.
I see.
Yeah.
Seems like it has changed, right? There's a lot of parents are like just really want to get A's, right? Like
Because
that's the mindset.
that's because of the salary. That's related to the future salary, right? The grades.
Maybe.
For the earlier generations.
Yeah.
They
They
think
think
so.
like yeah.
But
now
now
it's changed.
it's changed.
Oh, it's a good thing though. Good to hear. Exactly.
Because I experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
My mom told me, no A, no good salary.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And parents are kind of.
Yeah, I mean for Waldorf School, they kind of know we
They
don't
already
have
know.
we don't have exams, we don't have tests. I mean, of course we do quizzes in the classroom, but we didn't grade it. Like we didn't say, okay, you are 11 out of 20. We didn't create that like competition between the student. But the parents kind of know it. But of course, when they move on to transition to the high school, they may start to concern because the school, like other school, would like to see like how the student doing in the school. So the teachers have to accommodate somehow. We are not really like A or B, but we kind of like maybe need improvement, like doing like good, and like this is how we try to create that image of the student, so that the teachers from other school kind of know how the student doing. And also the teachers, we did a lot of like description of the like student, like the narration of the student, how they learn in school, what is the attitude they have in school, and how they interact with other people. We write a lot of that. So when other like teachers from other school, when they actually read the report, they have that image in their head already. So they don't focus only on the academic. They also look at the personality of the student, and of course, when they got into the like high school, they already give them assessment already. Like they know the academic part from that one. So kind of they know it from the assessment, and we give the personality of the student to the school. So this is how we work out for the parents. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
I think same thing with us. It's just if parents are sending their child to a PYP school, they know what to expect.
Yeah.
There's so many PYP schools in the city, and they know in primary that they're not having big exams or tests, and that they are focusing on these celebrations of learning and getting a picture of this child with work samples, portfolios, how they do on their big exhibition in their final year of the PYP, where they showcase what they've been learning. So yeah, parents are really supportive that way. Yeah.
Well, really thank you guys for the wonderful panel discussion. So the next part will be taking questions from the live audience, and also online audience in wherever you are. So you can type questions on our YouTube channel, and we will ask our speakers here. So please take this opportunity, since we have three really wonderful speakers today. All have really amazing insights. Anyone want to go first?
I have a question for Ryan.
Yes.
Well, as a parent, we always struggle between technology and children, especially with children at a very young age.
Yeah.
So, with your background, obviously I know that you probably do encourage as much technology as possible, but where do you draw the line? And how do you convince a parent who's very anti-technology? They don't want their kid playing on their iPhone all the time. And I've seen kids play with iPhones at the dinner table.
Sure.
And so obviously I don't want that with my kid, but how do you explain to that and say, hey, technology can be good at a young age?
I think the same thing we do at school is we have just a few points, some essential agreements where we build a healthy relationship around technology. I think it's the same thing that needs to happen at home. Sit around the dinner table and come up with some points or some agreements with your child on where you're going to use technology. Well, it's going to be used in a place where I can always see it. You're not going to have anything perhaps behind closed doors. So you're being being monitored, at least from an early age. And also about what types of things you're going to be doing. You have all these educational resources perhaps provided from the school. What are you going to be working on? Is it educational things, or is it going to be surfing, some YouTube channels that you maybe shouldn't be doing? So I think having that conversation with the child is very important, and coming up with those agreements and having consequences if those agreements are broken, just like they would at school. Because at school, they're always being monitored because there's always teachers in the classroom with them. The screens are always open, and they're not allowed to have, they're not allowed to be in the corner with the screen hidden there. It has to be in a place where the teacher can see. So it's those same practices at home as well. I think a lot of the problem comes when students are unattended. They don't have that supervision, and they're using technology. We see those students because we see posts at 11 o'clock at night on even like a Google Classroom, and then we have to say what's going on? Why are you up that late? Oh, I was in my room, with my dad's iPad. Okay, well, alarm. That shouldn't be happening. So we talk to the parents and we educate them. We run workshops, and we say the same thing: is that you need to build some kind of agreement or healthy relationship with them. Yeah.
What?
With all this online learning, my daughter gets a lot of online material just uploaded on the classroom. What I see is that often they get really easily disengaged, and it's really hard to capture their attention. She's 8 and a half. The material she gets is from public, traditional local school, so PowerPoints and reading through the PowerPoints. It's like there must be a better way to engage them, or what are your insights with that? It's I guess a difficult question. If we're trying to reinvent the education system within the boundaries that are set. I personally am really looking forward to kind of see the leap out of this boundary, but what I see right now is just really limited, unfortunately. What insights do you have on trying to engage them with better
Engagements. Online learning
connection? Like what I see, sometimes I hold Zoom lessons that all the kids are just they're allowed to talk, just unmuted, and everyone is so excited to talk, which then becomes a bit of a disruption, right?
Yeah.
But those are the times they're really excited, and I feel like missed opportunity in a way. Like those are the times that you can actually teach them stuff, and I'm just wondering what insights you guys have around that.
That's different practices in different situations, right? Because the 3 schools here, we have different practices for online learning. So if you can put away the school setting for online learning, if you're brave enough to do that, then you can set up the rules for your kids at home. There are lots of platforms that can help you, that can help parents. You can go to England or Australia. The education department has a lot of help for their parents. So I think you can find the ideas from abroad to choose the right platform for your child to follow other countries' design, especially England this time. They put a lot on appreciation, gratitude in the learning. the education department did a very, very good job this time. I really appreciated the government, what they have done for the education part. So if you're interested, you can go and have a look. They have a set of materials. I borrow it for my students too. If you're brave enough that you put aside the local school online materials, or you finish the basic requirement, and then you can make good use of the time for the online learning. But no worry, 1 more week or 2 more weeks.
And then you have 3 more weeks. 3 weeks only.
I don't want to necessarily comment about what other schools are doing, but just some of the good online learning that I've seen is where students, they're given a task or an activity or a challenge, but what they have to do or what they have to complete is not just read through a bunch of slides. It's to actually create something at home and take a video and explain it, or tell a story, or contact their family members and learn about something from their family history and so on. So there are lots of great platforms. A lot of our teachers engage students through video using a platform like Edpuzzle, or they have collaboration spaces online like Padlet, where the students can all share their perspectives and comment on each other, and they can share videos and all different types of multimedia. So there are lots of these platforms available. It's just about taking advantage of them, using them. It's about the technological fluency of teachers. We are back to school, but who knows when we're online again, and who knows how long we're going to be online the next time. We don't know. And I think now is a very serious time for teachers to improve their technological fluency. Many are technologically fluent, but many still have ways to get there, like using some of those platforms to really engage during that time, because how long can you just send a PowerPoint for a PowerPoint every day to a child for? They're going to be disengaged right away.
And that makes 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months is too. It's 3 months too much. So it's about really getting good training and a good understanding of the technology that's available, because the technology out there is incredible these days. I'm not saying it replaces the classroom. Obviously, nothing replaces the classroom. That's the best to have that, face-to-face engagement. But there are so many incredible platforms available online to get students really excited about learning. It's just about taking hold and seizing those opportunities. Yeah.
So if I were you, actually we have students we also give out homework. Because it's all printed homework. So for our students, some of them couldn't engage with the homework because no human communication. It's just boring. It's just letters on that. So what I would suggest is, sometimes you have to just put down the homework. You have to think of why we need to do the homework at the beginning. And if the homework will destroy the relationship, I would just leave it for that and rebuild the relationship first. We don't want to destroy the curiosity of learning. Yeah, we want the students to enjoy the learning. So you may also look at the homework, what they're doing, if you can understand. Maybe just randomly, when you have a chat or just talking, just pop up a question to your child. Just ask him you didn't need to mention this is from the homework. You just randomly ask her and then see if she can respond and how she responds it. If you find it interesting, then you can later on, on the homework, the teachers ask some questions similar like that. Maybe you know it, that you different way to get the child engaged with the question from the teachers. So I think that is more important than just doing the homework, because the teachers give the child homework.
So, anyone?
So I think it was very interesting how Joyce talked about, putting attitude before knowledge and skills. And I think going through the pandemic, we're all dealing with a lot of uncertainties, a lot of unknowns. And there's a big topic, there's a big discussion around social intelligence and resilience. So is this something that you guys are already teaching, incorporated in your teaching method or curriculum, in your schools?
For my school, yes, because every day when they go into the school, in the classroom there is an emotion chart. They need to put their own photo in the emotion box themselves, and then they will sit in a circle, and then the teachers will, someone is tired today. Why do you feel tired? then they will start the sharing. So at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, we will have something to wrap up like this, and the teachers will guide them how to do better for tomorrow. How we also implemented the mindfulness. Since we are a Catholic school, we do a Catholic mindful training. Okay, so this is how we put the beginning of the day and then mindfulness in the middle of the day, and then and at the end of the day, we also have the magic circle to connect the people's hearts together. So with a positive social emotion, students can learn better. It is a research from some rural school in, I shouldn't say rural school, some of the school and around the edge of New York. Okay, those are the poverty area, and many drop off rate in those schools. But once they implement the restorative approach, the social emotional approach into that school, the drop off rate decrease, and then the university percentage increase. So I learned something from those schools at the edge of New York, and I put it into my school. So in my school, we have Catholic positive education. We try to develop the 24 character strength for our students, and together with the social emotional, and then and for my school, in local school, we have 訓導主任, discipline teacher. And starting from September, my discipline teacher title will change. Will change to behavior and culture developer.
I like it. That's good.
Did you invent that name?
Not really. I also learned from some innovative school in England. Behavior and culture, because behavior
culture
will become culture, right?
Okay. Fair enough. Yes. What's the Chinese name, you ask?
I haven't thought about this yet.
Translation in progress.
Same title for the SANCO in Hong Kong. Do you know SANCO?
Yeah.
The Special Education Coordinator. 特殊教育統籌主任. I don't know why we need to set this title. So we change it to the proper name is the student development developer, but we put a special name for this post, magician of life. Magician of life. Everyone is unique. Everyone is just the same. Everyone can flourish, right? So even for those teachers who need to help those students with special needs, it's not something special. It's just the same. Yeah, that's something that sometimes we bounded ourselves just because of the term. So I think we make it simple, very simple. Back to my Chinese slogan, 重塑教育力初心. And then you 活在當下. But when you are living at present, 活在當下, you need to make good use of the history for what has happened in the past. You analyze everything, and then you make good use of gambling skill. I talked to Harvey that we should teach gambling at school. Actually, it's just probability.
Totally, probability. Yeah. Yes. Data
And
science.
then you can predict the future faster. You can react and respond to the future faster. This time during the crisis, I analyzed with my teaching team. Do you have pressure? Do you feel frustrated? If yes, that means you are chasing the future. You are not even living in current time. You are chasing the current time. If you are living with joy and peace, for Catholics, we seek for joy and peace from God. So if you feel joy and peace even at a pandemic and crisis time, that means you have your ongoing seeing, you can predict the future. You don't have too much worry. Yeah, it's something that we sometimes see things to have.
Interesting. Yeah. We can talk more about this. Let's take a question online. I think. Okay, so this question is actually more about the system. Do you think a student will lose advantage if they are not trained to adapt to the examination system as early as they could? like start early. You know, it's a very Hong Kong thing. Like train them early, take exam. If you're slower, then you know you lose the advantage. But any comments on that?
It depends.
Depends.
As parent, you need to understand your child very much. Some children, they can bear the stress. They can overcome it easily. They are tough enough to go through it. Some students, they are tough, but they don't want to go through it. Some students, they may not at the right time to go through this toughness. They may need to wait for a while. So it's really hard to say that, honestly. Because in the system, I always used the term play inside the system. So, gambler, right? When you do the gambling, you need to assess, to analyze, to calculate, not just for the pokers, but you have to check the eyes of those participants. You have to feel those at your back. Then you can know all the atmosphere around the table. So same thing for exam. If we are living in the city that we need to face the exam, as parents, as adults, we need to do this kind of assessing the situation and understand your kids a lot before you make the judgment. And before you make the judgment, try keep the conversation with your child. Keep talking to them, no matter they are just 1 year old, 2 years old, or 3 years old. Until they are 4 or 5, then you bring them to the schools and have a look. Do you like this? Why? Keep on asking why. And then you can give them a lot of examples, choices. Give them choices. Of course, you need to frame them, not free choices. Okay? You do have your own expectations, right? For your expectations like these 10 schools, okay? Then you introduce these 10 schools to them. Okay, this is how we work with our children, from very small to teenagers. Yeah, because at the puberty age, it's not easy to handle the recent youngsters.
I think the parents needs to be educated too.
Yes,
In order to make that judgment, it's like, do I need to train my kids earlier or later?
I'm going to start a new homeschool academy for my parents in coming September. A lot of sharing from different point of views from different parents. Mm-hmm. You listen more, you share more, because every time when you share, first you may understand yourself more. You will assure what you think more, or you listen to others. You may ask yourself. That's a reflection, right? And you see your child and others' child, see the difference, see more. We see different childs every day, right? Mm-hmm. So, but you are not, just a few. So I think this kind of sharing is a collaboration to build up our community too. Because parents, they make families together becomes community. So I think it's worth to do something for our parents.
See. Okay, so let's take one more question from the online audience. Okay, what's this?
Same.
Similar,
Yeah.
so let's do the other one. I think there's a question for Ryan. Someone would like to know your projects or for connection with the community. I think it's about how your project related to communities.
Okay.
If I understand correctly.
Yeah, so a lot of our units have a focus on exploring and learning more about the community. So it could be school community, it could be about Hong Kong, it could be about the region that we live in. And students need to learn more about that. So that may mean they need to go into the community, talk to people, take field trips and so on. So that's how they're really learning more about the community. When I say like those design projects and the PYP exhibition project, where they have to raise awareness about some issues happening in the community, using the global goals and finding out what's happening about animal wildlife here in Hong Kong, and going and learning about the pink dolphins, and finding out from different people what are their perspectives and how we can go about solving these things and raising awareness about them in the community. And then once again with the design projects, if they're looking at our local school community and they're thinking of what are some ways we can fix things, they're doing the same thing. They're going and asking questions, meeting people, learning more. So I think when we say community can be very small, or it could be a larger community. It could be their family community. It's just all about them inquiring more to then raise awareness and solve problems within these communities.
Great.
Yeah. And some examples. A really good example. We had a PYPX student last year, and she was like, there's all this ocean plastic. There's just so much wasted plastic. Why don't we shred the plastic, melt it down, and make things out of it? And she went to a maker space that she rented out on the weekends, and she built a plastic shredder.
Wow. And
then she brought it to school, and she sat there and she took junk plastic and was shredding it, and it comes out in a big bin just like a paper shredder. And then she melted it down, and she made bowls and plates with this melted plastic. And we have this plastic shredder now, so we can use this at school, so we can be saving more plastic in our community. Not that we have started, really taking advantage of using it yet, but we hope to more in the future. She's just brought it back to school now, but I thought this was some great action that she took to really help out the community. And then she shared this. She's gone and talked at different, discussion opportunities around the city about what she did, and really talking about that. These opportunities are available to us.
So we're about to wrap up, but I have one last question, which is, since the topic is about reinventing education, so how do you envision the future of a classroom or schools?
I'm redesigning it since last year. In Hong Kong, we still have schools, okay? And all school is in building. And we're a local school, we have no choices. But for my school, now we're redesigning the classroom as a third teacher.
The third teacher?
Yeah, the first teacher is the facilitator, the teacher. The second teachers are the peers. So the third teacher is the classroom. Okay, so we are learning how to use different fabric, how to stimulate our students, how to use lighting, how to use the feeling on sitting on different materials chairs, because these can help them to shape themselves into different situations. When the light is dimmer, then you go into the room softer. So this is how we shape our students so young, the elements of the character, by feeling about the environment. And we try to set the classroom without boundaries. Our students, they need to change classroom in different lessons, in different subjects. So 100 students in that level, they need to move around their own baskets. This lesson, I will stay in this classroom. Next lesson, I may need to change to another classroom and mix with other students. This is the daily life in our school. The mobility is very high in our school. You won't sit in one classroom all the time in the whole day. If you did, ask yourself why. That's something in my school. That's something in my school. And also the table. Now we have a long bench for our students in a local school. There is no boundary. So today, these two students, they sit closer together. That means they are friends. But another day, when you come into the classroom, you see them sit a little bit away from each other. That means they may be arguing. And there are still lots of exploration for my school. We are planning to have some students that they may not have timetable on every Friday. So they will come back to do something on their own plan with a mentor. Lots of things happening in the box of my school. So I think hopefully we do have a lot of excursion. We'll go out of the classroom, but still in the system, we still have to live in the box at this moment. But in future, maybe anywhere, and then you just have your device, and you communicate in the communicators, and school is just a place for you to gather as a co-work place. You go out and come back, go out and come back. As the root of learning. The school is the root of learning, maybe.
Interesting. Nancy, you want to share?
I think for the future, like school has to go back to like why we have education. What is what is the essence of education? Why are we doing school? So if we go back to the basic and then the essential or the foundation of education, meaning you can learn everywhere. Okay. The main thing is you have to look at the child, like how he learned, and at what age and what he should learn. So if you know it, then you already have the curriculum, and then you can start learning anytime. So you can learn at home, you can learn when you travel, you can learn at school, or just anywhere. So I think in the future, if we if we really look at the essence of education, then the school could be the world, could be the school.
This is a topic definitely thought about a lot about recently. In the near future, what I see is that any kind of learning that starts in the school, it needs to be able to continue seamlessly online. So it needs to be designed really well in a certain way, because a lot of the issues we had was like school just stopped, and some of those projects just stopped because we didn't think that we would just be online for the next few months. So now that we have this experiences, now we have to plan a little bit better and whatever, design learning engagements in certain ways so that they can just continue online. But I think in the future it needs to be very passion based, and it really school needs to be focused on what students are interested in. They're interested in very different things. And you've probably read about if someone spends like 10,000 hours, they master something, and our students should be mastering a passion, and they can master multiple passions, but that's how they become experts in their field. So maybe not necessarily the highest grades are going to get them the highest salary, but it's them becoming an expert on this or that, and becoming an expert in some of the future fields, where you have a lot of talks here about AI, programming and robots and all that sort of thing. If you're able to code and build these robots and get into blockchain and understand blockchain from an early age and build decentralized apps and so on. If students spend a lot of time on that from an early age and master that, I think that's really the future, is taking advantage of some of these future industries and exploring these passions.
Great. Thanks. Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for giving us like very different perspectives on education. And thank you so much for the wonderful and inspiring session today. Let's give our speaker